think so.
Mackenzie.
Lamar.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. You
think I
seemed
did
a little
it.
hesitant at first, but you nailed it. Yeah.
I had to hear it. You know what I mean? I had to hear it for a second and then go.
I was going for baseball announcer kind of vibe.
Yeah. I'm getting it.
We're going to get a little silly this week, as we spoke about last week. This is a double parter, and we had 4 ounces of alcohol last episode. So let's get silly with it.
We're doing fine, you guys.
Yeah, we're doing great. Fine. So not as much of a cold open question, but I wanted to play sort of a list out category game. So if any of you that have ever played the drinking game Kings, occasionally you do a category, and it's just you get a category, you go around the circle, name things from that category. The first person to fuck up or repeat loses. And so I thought it'd be fun to let's just name baseball teams. We'll get a quick one out of the way here. So I'll name a team, city and mascot. You name one. We go back and forth until somebody messes up.
Yuck. Okay. Yes.
You're in panic mode. Okay.
I know baseball teams, but then you put me under the gun and I'm like, fuck. Okay. Anyway.
It's high pressure, high stakes. Well, high pressure, low stakes, but okay. Here we go.
Wait, I need another drink. Hang on.
All right.
Okay, let's go.
New York Yankees.
You are a cheater. Okay. Well, Boston Red Sox. Let's go.
Chicago Cubs.
Cheater. I knew you were going to do that. Chicago White Sox.
Florida Marlins.
Atlanta Braves.
I should correct myself. It's Miami Marlins now. Still in Florida. Tampa Bay Devil Rays.
Baltimore Orioles.
Texas Rangers.
Houston Astros.
Seattle Mariners.
God damn it. That's what I was going to do. Milwaukee Brewers.
Los Angeles Dodgers.
Minnesota Twins.
St. Louis Cardinals.
Yeah, that's right. I love that you're question mark. Kansas City Royals.
Shit, you took the one that I had ready.
See, you did that to me.
Philadelphia Phillies.
Okay. You're not going to name this one, so I'm going to go with it. Colorado Rockies.
Goddamn. Okay. Is there still a team in? Yeah, Arizona Diamondbacks.
Yes. Detroit Tigers.
God, you're killing me. Okay.
I'm trying. Well, never mind. I'm not going to tell you my. I'm not going to tell you my hack. I don't know. I was about to share my hack with you.
God damn. There's no team in New Orleans. There's no team. What's the tennis? There's no team in Tennessee, really? Nashville?
Are you thinking football?
I'm like, is there really not a baseball team in Tennessee? There's not one in Kentucky. Does Columbus have a baseball? I think I might lose. Honestly, I think time might be up. So congratulations, you've won. Can you name one more? What was the other one you had on deck?
Toronto Blue Jays.
I didn't go to Canada. I should have gone to Canada.
I had a few others. I had Pittsburgh ready. I had Athletics ready.
And we just talked about them literally 20 minutes ago. And I just spaced. I was like, I know there are so many other California
This is what I'm saying.
teams.
When the pressure is on, it's different. There's also the LA team.
Angels?
Angels. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was trying to get there. My hack, now that I've won, thank you. Now, my hack was kind of vaguely trying to go in alphabetical order.
Ooh, okay.
You know, and then but then you had some region stuff that threw me off, and I was and so I was like, well, I can I can figure out the region. That's fine. So, anyways, we did it. That was fun.
Sorry, Dad, if you're listening. He's probably really disappointed.
I won't tell him.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Thank you.
Oh, okay, let's roll. Welcome back to We Drink and We Watch Things. I'm Mackenzie.
I'm Lamar.
And we are still in baseball month, if you couldn't tell by the hat and the whole shebang. Play ball. We are going to do 61 asterisk.
Yeah.
Which is why, well, also we've established I'm a Red Sox / Cubs fan, mostly Red Sox fan.
You couldn't rock a Yankees hat today for the film?
I cannot physically rock a Yankees cap, so
you and Affleck both.
Yeah, because he knows. So yeah, sorry, I couldn't show up in that. I had to show some serious Red Sox pride here,
Fair.
but that's all right. What are we drinking? These silly Yankees players that we're going to talk about for an hour at least.
Yeah, so as we're talking about the 61 Yankees, specifically Mickey Mantle and Roger Maris, if you've seen this film before, you know that they eventually form a corporation called M&M. No relation to the candy company. But that's what we're calling our drink today, and it's apparently something that Mickey Mantle used to drink, I hope not every morning, but some mornings. It's 2 ounces of brandy, 1 ounce of Kahlua, and 1 ounce of cream, and it's fucking tasty. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, I mean, here we go. Cheers.
Yeah. Cheers.
It's pretty delish.
Yeah, when we say M&M, we were sort of going back and forth on the
It's
name,
quite
but it's
sweet.
sweet. It's really sweet. The Kahlua.
Yeah. I also like that it's giving, as I told you off mic, I think it's giving credit to both here. I mean, like, this is definitely the Roger Maris story, a little bit of him breaking this record, but like they were in it to win it together. And I love that. But yeah, that's very sweet. And also, yeah, we're on strong cocktail number 2.
Thanks
and
at Craft World.
Thanks at Craft World. It is 1 p.m. But it's fine. We're gonna do fine. All right, well, let's get into the good stuff. 61 asterisk 2001. This is actually a made for TV movie, if y'all didn't know.
HBO, baby, aka Max. Yeah.
Oh, yep. HBO, then Max. Now HBO Max, it's back. It had a bit of an identity crisis if you guys hadn't read the news, but it is back to the beginning, Vicini. We are 7.7 out of 10 on IMDb for this one. 86% from critics and 96% from audiences, which is kind of surprising to me.
Did you say 96 from audience?
86 from critics, 86. 90 from audiences.
90. I mean, I know that I had never heard of this film before, and Skylar, aka at Craft World, is the one who sort of recommended it to us. Had you ever seen this before?
I had, but like right when it came out,
I
think I like sort of saw it in the background.
This was way under my radar. Like you said, it's a made-for-TV movie. I was a little perplexed by that because it's not TV, it's HBO. So is it a made-for-TV movie or not?
Made for cable, totally different.
That's okay, fair. So made for cable movie. But yeah, I had never heard of this, and it's enjoyable. I don't know that I mean, I guess it's just Rotten Tomatoes is thumbs up, thumbs down. So I get why 9 out of 10 people would enjoy it. I'm not going to rate it a 9 out of 10 today because I think there's a couple things.
How is Rotten Tomatoes thumbs up, thumbs down? Wait, pause. I always give it like a rating, like a star rating.
They do both, but the ultimate Rotten Tomatoes score, that percentage, is just a flat out, did you like the movie experience or not? And it's what percentage of people liked the movie. Yes. IMDb, and I think they also do
my brain right now. Yeah. You learn something new every day, but also I'm very upset about it now. Like, I don't trust that as much anymore.
Yeah, that's why when, like, if you look at, a newer, not to always harp on them, but like Marvel films, right? It could be an 80%, but that means 80% of people were like, yeah, it's better than a 5. Not that it's an 8 out of 10.
I thought they were taking the aggregate of the ratings.
Nope.
You guys, I'm going to have a breakdown. Okay. I didn't know that.
We need to rethink this podcast.
I'm fine. It's fine. I digress. I apologize. Okay. Yes. So, wow. All right. Well, that adds some color to this rating. Yes. To your point. Okay. Interesting. Good to know. Y'all, I'm really preoccupied by this. I have so many thoughts.
There's just going to be 5 minutes of silence after this, and then we'll start back up. Yeah.
Mackenzie it's like upending my understanding of what we were doing here. And wow, yeah, you can tell I didn't give this a goog at all before now. So, okay, fine. But yes, again, to the ratings with that context, 90% of audiences said yes, better than a 5, I guess. And 86% of critics said that as well, which is like pretty solidly high rating.
I think that's high especially for a television film. I was shocked. I'm sure you're going to get to the budget numbers. I was curious about that because this does feel like a made-for-TV film. The actors involved, for the most part, are not super A-list. Like, I know who Tom Jane and Barry Pepper are, but a lot of the minor roles are played by regular HBO actors and sort of those mid-tier folks of that era. But it feels like a TV movie. So the fact that it performs so well is kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, it actually, you cannot find the budget. Fun fact. I did try to get us into that. And I don't know if that's just less common to publish because it's a TV movie kind of thing or what, but I like tried multiple ways to find it and I could not find it. So I agree that it does feel like a TV cable movie in terms of budget. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but it's not poorly done. It's just like they're not
No.
taking on some of the stuff that, like, for example, we of course saw in a Moneyball where we're like getting the whole real stadiums and there's like really high production value. A lot of that is fake. A lot of the like one-to-one scenes are, you know, in locker rooms and apartments and office,
Right.
right? It's like you're not the production value is just not as intense for sure.
We got that early aughts CGI on some of the baseball shots
Mm.
flying in the pitches. I laughed a little bit because they show TVs from the 1960s, but really it just looks like a 2001 image turned black and white. And they're like, this is what a
Yep.
TV would look like in 1961. I'm like,
100%. It's funny you
accurate.
say that because
Yeah.
I noticed that too, like even in some of their close-ups of their hits and stuff,
Yeah.
and they just turned them black and white. I'm like, that's a really high-res black and white video from the 60s.
Yeah.
So
So it reads, but I mean, guys, this is what, 15, 20 years before Netflix starts pioneering, like, sort of, hey, we're going to throw tens of millions of dollars at a picture that we're funding. You know, HBO doing their own thing in 2001. I think it exceeds the bar of where I would have put it at going into this film.
yeah, it does. I think the production value and like the way that the performances certainly are higher caliber performances than you would say, you know, yeah, a made for TV type of movie for sure. And yeah, I agree with you. Like not D-list actors, some B, C-list actors in this, but people that you recognize certainly, you know, like you're like, oh, I've seen this guy in some things. So
I wrote that down. I'm like, this is a movie full of, oh, that guy.
Oh, that guy. Exactly. Yeah. It totally is. It totally is. Which, by the way, we're not going to go into all of them. So you're going to continue to think, oh, it's that guy. And you're not going to know anything else about them. You're welcome. But real quick, director Billy Crystal, who obviously is known mostly for being a stand-up comic / actor. And one of my things like that I was first exposed to that he did was City Slickers, for example, but he's as an actor. But as a director, one, he's a huge baseball fan, if you didn't know this about Billy Crystal, which is indicative of why he made a baseball movie. But he's not a prolific director, certainly. He, I think, is very judicious about those things. He's done a couple of made for TV type of movies. And then he did something called Here Today, which I never saw. I don't know if you saw it at all.
I saw Monsters, Inc. Does that count? That's him, right?
That is him, okay. But, you know, he didn't direct it, but, you know, close, whatever. But he's been in all kinds of good stuff as an actor, but he doesn't direct a lot.
That shot at the end after the, not to, I mean, it's not really a spoiler, but that very after the credits shot, that's supposed to be him as a kid, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
Because then right after that, it like has a pop-up of like directed by Billy Crystal. Oh, okay. Now I get why he's so passionate about this project.
Right. Yeah, he's a big, and he like, if you ever seen his stand-up, he makes a lot of baseball jokes. When he hosted, I think the Academy Awards a couple of times, he does a lot of baseball jokes. Like he's a big baseball fan. He's specifically a big Yankees fan. So he and I unfortunately can't be friends, but that's fine.
I read something that said he remembered so many little details because there's not a lot of footage, obviously, of this era of baseball. So as he was directing scenes, he was just pulling from his childhood memory of, oh no, I remember where this ball got knocked into left field. Like they called him Rain Man on the set because he remembered so many random factoids about his experiences watching Yankees games as a kid.
That's so cool, you know.
Right?
I love that so much. Like that's deep nostalgia, romance, like childhood experiences.
The epitome of a passion project. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. And I mean, we won't get into how like memory is valuable and whatever, but the point is it's beautiful.
Because like Roger Maris was 8 feet tall, and that's how I'm gonna film this movie.
But that's what I mean. Like as a kid, like everything feels bigger and you don't, I love that. But I love that it clearly was so formative for him, like these experiences at the baseball park. And, you know, I love that for him. Very cool. Written by Hank Steinberg, who does a lot of like TV stuff, some of which I know, some of which I don't know, but like ones that people probably know are like Without a Trace. He did something recently called Doc. I don't know, pretty recent, but you know, The Last Ship, Interpol, stuff like that. Mostly a TV writer, which again checks out here. So. And then we again have I'm not going to go through the whole cast. There's a lot of, like we said, we know this guy, but our leads that we spend a lot of time with are Barry Pepper, who plays Roger Maris. You probably know him from things like The Green Mile, where he's like a guard and it's a whole thing and he's terrible. And then True Grit and a few other things, very much like a supporting cast member most of the time in those
Yeah, he was in
turns.
Crawl, which is a semi-recent horror film that did pretty well. It's like an alligator monster motion picture, and it was one of those ones that you go into thinking this is going to be so bad, but it was actually pretty good.
I love that you go into them thinking they're going to be so bad, but you watch them anyway.
Well, that's why I love horror movies. If it's bad, I still have a great time. So he was in that. He's also in an actual bad motion picture that I've referenced before on the pod called Knockaround Guys with Vin Diesel, John Malkovich. It's Barry Pepper with dyed jet black hair playing an Italian. It's very curious.
No.
Yes.
Wow.
So yeah, that one is worth watching for a fun time. And Barry Pepper, fun fact, was not a U.S. citizen playing Roger Maris in this in 2001. He didn't become a U.S. citizen until 2006. He's Canadian by birth. So
I was going to say he reeks of Canada.
And he's doing that, Kansas City accent or Oklahoma accent? I forget, but
he's doing an accent.
He's doing something.
That's what we'll say. Well, he's doing an accent. I don't know that we can give it a regional accuracy at all, but A for effort, my guy. Thank you for giving me that tip on a movie to never watch. Thank you so much. And then we also have Thomas Jane plays Mickey Mantle, the man, the myth, the legend. I love that they put Roger Maris and Mickey Mantle. Like, I love that they give us this context. We get all kinds of context of like the greats at the time, which I think is very cool. We got Yogi Berra and all those who are mentioned throughout. But I love that they give Mickey Mantle context in terms of Roger Maris, at least for me as an actual baseball fan, but I didn't often associate these two. And I think it's partially because, I mean, I knew they kind of were contemporaries, but I just mean this tight was really cool to see, like how, and like the M&M of it all, like we said, and this neck and neck race. I think Mickey Mantle has the fame and the charm. He's the one that people talk about more than Roger Maris, but as we see, Roger Maris ends up being kind of the main character here, so to speak. So
yeah, they are
that was cool.
Polar opposites as far as personality, lifestyle go, and you have Mantle sort of toward the tail end of his career, like fading a bit, but still. Yeah. And Tom Jane plays an incredible like playboy character in this. I didn't know he had it in him, and that was going to be my first question to you. Tom Jane, Barry Pepper, they're sort of like B-list celebs, like they're not movie stars. When we talked about Brad Pitt last week, but they're known. Yeah. But do you think they're overrated, underrated, accurately rated in their skill set based on what you're looking at with their filmographies?
I feel like I need to take another look at their filmographies, but based on this alone, like just this film, I don't think they're over or underrated. I think they're relatively accurately rated. I do think that, to your point, Tom Jane playing Mickey Mantle, this is a different turn for him. He does a good job. He does a really good job. He doesn't like knock it out of the park, pun not intended, by the way, but he like, it just means it's not perfect. Let me put it that way. It's not perfect. Like it doesn't blow me away as being like, oh my God, what an incredible Oscar-winning performance. But he does a good job, and it is different for him.
Yeah, for what it's worth, I thought this was two of their better performances. Not to say their others are bad, but this was the first time I looked at Tom Jane and went, oh, okay, he's doing something a little different. Yeah.
I think it's one of the few performances, and I think that's very interesting you mentioned that, but I think it's one of the few performances, and we'll get into it, where they are digging into like the real emotional aspect of it, not the machismo, like anger aspect of a character, which I think is true of all the ones that we referenced for Barry Pepper. And then certainly Tom Jane has been in Thin Red Line, Deep Blue Sea, like some of these action-y heavy kind of films where you're playing this kind of one-dimensional macho dude, or at least angry, like just dude, right? And these
What about in The Punisher, where he's punishing people? Oh, no, never mind. That's kind of a one note. Yeah, okay. Sorry. Keep going.
Literally. Exactly. But I think in this one, they do have this very like masculine sports guy persona, of course. But I think they get the opportunity with the writing, with the production, to play the emotional side of that as well, which I think is a kind of a little bit before its time, to be totally honest. Even in 2001, in like letting men feel the feelings, that was surprising here, and I think that gives them both a chance to kind of work those chops a little.
Yeah, those performances are great. I did write down a funny note of, I think if you merge both of their accents in this film, you get Matthew McConaughey. Like if you just, it seems like they're both doing kind of okay impressions of McConaughey, and if you merge them together, that's what you end up with. And to be fair, I think one of them is from Oklahoma originally, and the other one was born in, I can't remember where, but it's like Midwest. And so it's like when you merge
Yeah.
those together, it kind of makes sense that that's what they're going for.
I feel like Tom does a better consistent accent
Yes.
here, like in terms of he's sounding the same
And it's
throughout.
not just the accent itself, but it's the way that he delivers it in kind of like a
His
mumble tone.
intonation,
Like
his
he's
like,
talking
yeah,
like this the whole fucking movie. And like he's
right.
not moving his lips and his tongue a lot. And I'm like, okay, he's doing something.
He's like committing to a way of speaking.
For sure.
And I think that's really well done. I think Barry Pepper is committing to an accent, trying to commit
Yes.
to an accent, not a way of speaking. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so a couple more quick ones, no major ones, but I wanted to call out Anthony Michael Hall, even though he doesn't have a huge turn here. But he plays Whitey Ford, and we have him in The Breakfast Club, which we've talked about before. So I wanted to shout that out. But also, we talked about the Foxcatcher director last time, Bennett, and he's also in Foxcatcher.
Who was he in Foxcatcher? I don't even remember.
I don't remember.
Okay.
I like even looked at the picture, and I'm kind of like, what? I don't really remember that scene. But anyway, he's in that. I think he's one of the wrestlers, but I don't remember like how much of it.
I just always remember him as the bully in Community. Like I think it's season 1 of Community, the TV show. They had him go from being the nerd in Breakfast Club to being the bully in Community. I always thought that was kind of funny, but
I feel like I need to watch Community.
it's so good, dude. But in the context,
like I'm only familiar with Community gifs. You know what I mean? Like
it's a quality television show. There's some losers in there episode wise, but for the most part, it's good. And in the context of this film, though, Whitey Ford was a left-handed pitcher, and Anthony Michael Hall is right-handed. So they actually reversed all the logos on his uniform and his numbers anytime they filmed his talk about 2001 technology. And then they just flipped it when they came time to actually produce the footage. Very creative. Modern problems require modern solutions, right?
I'm all for like a cheap but effective solution.
Right.
So get it done, man. I love that. I also like lefty pitchers are hard to find, and some of them are real weird, like how they pitch. So
and I bet they're shitty actors too. So
oof. So just so you know, Skylar's a lefty pitcher.
I mean, he's never appeared on the pod. Just saying.
So. It's true. I even said I was like, this would have been the one, and he's like, no. Oh, he's not real, is what it is. Y'all don't need to know. I'm actually pretending.
He goes to another school.
Exactly. Okay, Richard Masur, I want to call out. He plays Milt. I think Milt like becomes important throughout here and there, but he doesn't have a ton of screen time, but he has some kind of key moments. But he was in like The Thing, which we've talked about, obviously. And he was in Risky Business, some fun stuff. And then Bruce McGill. Ralph Hook, he was in My Cousin Vinny. Yes, love that movie. Law Abiding Citizen, a few other things. So, and then there are, again, a ton of more of, hey, I know that guy in here.
Yeah, if you were watching HBO at this time, you will recognize people from The Wire and other TV series. You'll see Shooter McGavin from Happy Gilmore is in this. It's a lot of, oh shit, that's that guy. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of that. But we'll stick with those so we can get into the good stuff. So real quick, plot summary, and then we'll spoiler warning you guys. Roger Maris and Mickey Mantle race to break Babe Ruth's single season home run record. Pretty much it.
Yeah, like that's what happens. Yeah.
That is what happens. All right, kids, turn around, don't drown. It's spoiler time. I love it. Production notes, I have none because there's like no information about this film out in the universe, really. There's no budget information. There's no major production information that's not implied other than like filming locations and things like that. So this is very much like we just cranked it out kind of movie is my read on it.
And part of me feels like that shows, not as a full criticism, but this feels like a TV movie, as I've said before. This almost feels like they couldn't decide whether to make it a mini series, do six episodes of this, because I almost wonder if they could have broke it down. I do feel like for the subject matter and the story that we're telling, and this is a common complaint of mine, so again, subjective, I feel like this is a little long. When I got 50% into the movie, I was just like, dude, we don't need this scene. Already? We don't need this scene. I know the story you're trying to tell. This has nothing to do with that. That is my one critique, is they should have split it into parts. I don't think this was made to be, a 2.5 hour film.
Yeah, I could see it being more effective as a miniseries, certainly, because you have the time and also the desire to get invested in the individuals, including all those, hey, I know that guys, right? Like I want to know more about him. And, you have some of their main friend and roomie who like has also really hurt his leg. Like these were things that were historically accurate and really challenging for this team, and we could have spent more time on. But to your point, we spent a little bit too much time on it in this total length, I think is true. So, yeah, one more production note for everybody too. This is supposed to be predominantly filmed, obviously on the road and in other stadiums, but mostly in Yankee stadiums because it's a Yankees team. Some of you bebes might think, oh, that doesn't look like Yankee Stadium. Well, Yankee Stadium doesn't look like that anymore. They don't play there.
There was no
So if you
budget
didn't
for
already
a
know,
time machine, assholes.
there was no budget for a time machine. There's old Yankee Stadium and there's new Yankee Stadium. And if you haven't heard the Daniel Tosh skit on this, you should. I know he's probably canceled or some shit, but it's very funny. His spiel.
Wait, Daniel Tosh is canceled?
I have no idea. I just know he's like.
I mean, he's very offensive, but I didn't know that he got officially canceled.
Okay. I have no idea. I'm just saying I don't want to be held to, like, she pointed us to Daniel Tosh, who's actually been canceled. Whatever. This one skit about Yankee Stadium is a very funny. Go check it out. And he's like, the new Yankee Stadium is a joke. Anyway, it is. Okay. Fun fact. But this was filmed at Tiger Stadium in Detroit, Michigan. So it's like trying to again with the dressing up stadiums, like different stadiums. They're trying to make Tiger Stadium, which is pretty different, into Yankee Stadium, but old school Yankee Stadium, like 60s Yankee Stadium. And that's where some of that like they called it photography edits, but 90s early 2000s CGI efforts to make it look like Yankee Stadium.
Apparently they had, and this is another Billy Crystal, credit to him. I never knew that Billy Crystal even directed motion pictures before, so this was the first one that I'm familiar with that I've seen. But credit to him again, as being sort of this huge Yankees fan, he wanted to make sure it was accurate. And again, 1961, there's no footage or color footage of what Yankee Stadium looked like. So apparently he found a bleacher, like a piece of a bleacher seat from old Yankee Stadium, looked at the color, but then found scraps of the paint, the original paint job on it, and was like, okay, that's the color it was. That's what we're making the stadium. And I think visually that's pretty cool when you look out there and you see this weird seafoam green in the outfield. That's what he was basing it on. So kudos, Billy Crystal.
I just have so many questions about, I think that's very cool. Like, it's a very cool production story, and it's a very cool story about like footage or lack thereof, and especially the footage being black and white versus color and all that kind of stuff. Like, I think that's all super interesting. But now if you go to Yankee Stadium today, and even in old Yankee Stadium, they had repainted some certain things, but in Yankee Stadium today, the seats are blue, like navy blue, like Yankee color blue. And so I wonder how much of that was pervasive across stadiums. I just don't know the answer to this. I would be very interested to know, in old stadiums, are all the chairs green? Are they like that chip green, like seafoam green? Is that just like production of these kinds of materials?
For all we know, he was just looking at a piece of bubble gum that was stuck under the bleachers and was like, that's the color, right?
Or it was faded. Like that was like, that's one of the things that I have so many. I'm like, are we recreating a whole seafoam green color to Yankee Stadium that is based on a faded chair? I'm not indicting it at all. I'm just very curious. I think that would be really interesting to understand what
this is all coming from a Red Sox fan, for the record. So,
well, by the way, the Red Sox fan in me I have the like green monster colored green accoutrement. Like I have green monster colored green like koozies, shirts, etc. So like I am very preoccupied by that because I think it's very cool. It's very ballparky. Anyway. Yeah. Okay, so we get into this, like you said. I think the pace, like to call out the pacing and the length of this at the top is totally fair. It's kind of, I feel like it's kind of long. It's over 2 hours. It's like 2 hours and 8 minutes.
It is like watching a 160 game baseball season. Some parts of this drag.
Some parts of it do drag. You're right. I love baseball though, so I can't make that correlation to you. I'm sorry, but I will agree it's very long, and I have moments where I'm like, what am I watching? Like, I don't need this. I don't need this like intense phone call between him and his wife that's like not that big a deal, and it doesn't really move the plot forward, that takes 5 minutes, right?
Yeah, or the one where he bails on the interview and the reporter's upset and he's like, who does he think he is? He's getting full of himself. Or like the weird him sitting in his room alone, and we're doing that early aughts thing of like showing time passing through these fading shots of he's in this part of the room, then he's working out, and it's fading from shot to shot of like where he is. I'm just like, dude, this is a 10-minute waste of time right now. I know his mental state. We don't need these scenes.
And I think we could have, I don't know, I'm not a director of a film, obviously, but I feel like we could have done this differently. I think we could have gotten the point across differently of his mental state is I think we take for granted. I just want to put that in this frame of reference. In today's day and age, we very much take it for granted the media, the pressure of the media, lights, camera, action, all those kinds of like that, the inundation of reporters and the bullshit that they spew versus trying to drum up readership versus the accuracy of the situation and creating drama where it's not and blah, blah, blah. Like we're all very adept at that. We got to recognize that in this day and age, certainly there were famous people and movie stars and blah, 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 but it just didn't have the virality that it does now and that we are so used to. And so I think we have to give this man credit for being a quote unquote hick from the sticks who doesn't understand how to operate in this world. Plus, this would be overwhelming for anybody. And I think we could have spent more time with that of like this stark contrast. Like if you want to spend time with his family and stuff, cool, but like give this very clear stark contrast between what he is used to, which we get a very small snippet of at this little like cookout, but like spend more time with that against the intensity of this season and all that. I feel like they touch on it, but I just think they get a little preoccupied with some other stuff that doesn't really nail that point home. And from a modern audience, I don't think we take that as seriously as we could and we should, because he's very impacted by this. I mean, that's a vehicle for this story. This is very overwhelming to him, and I think we need to get that across a little better.
110%. This is, as much as it's a story about this home run race and these two guys who are very different in their approaches to the game and to their lifestyles, like that is interesting. You establish, Roger Maris, it's worth calling out. He's what, 8th on the all-time home run things, and if you take out steroids, which we will touch on at some point today because I have it in my notes.
Don't even fucking get me started.
He's like number 2, right, of all time.
Yeah.
But he's not in the Hall of Fame because he didn't have that impressive of an overall career. He had a couple great seasons.
He didn't bat 300, like all this. Yeah.
All these things they call out. And he wasn't that interesting of a player, quote unquote. He was surly. He was rude to the media. And then you have Mickey, who is this darling of the city.
Charming.
All this crazy shit.
He's a sales guy.
Doesn't really care if he wins or loses the day after. He's just sort of like living life to the fullest, which he does call out. Like that is an interesting dynamic. But I think the more interesting component of this film is its portrayal of the media and fans as being fickle, as looking for the flavor of the week, etc. These loyalties that don't really tie into much, except for, I like this. We talked about this last week with like Scouts, right? Of just, he seems cool. He shines on screen. Blah,
eye
blah,
candy.
Blah.
He's charming. He's whatever.
That is the interesting part of this film. So when they don't really put that in a neat bow and package, it doesn't land completely.
I agree, because a bunch of my notes are literally about the media relationships here. Like, I mean, just watching it as an observer, as you go through, it's not what they're trying to do, probably, certainly, but like, I am less preoccupied by the baseball of it all. Maybe that's partially because I know some of it, but also partially because the media thing is such a driving force to what's happening in the conflict of the film. And it's not, like you said, it's not fully addressed. It is shown, but it's not addressed. It's not tied up with a bow. And I have so many notes about like, never read the Daily News. Like that is still true today. Good job. Don't read the Daily News. New York Daily News, by the way, if y'all didn't know, kids, is like very problematic. But they're also turning this fake feud between Maris and Mantle into a reality. Like the power of the media can't really be overlooked. And I think that is a very interesting commentary that this film is showing of, this is a guy who at the beginning of the season, before this real pressure is on, doesn't really read the papers, doesn't really care that much, doesn't know how to give an interview, whatever. And then he gets, like so many of us do, obsessed with the likes, obsessed with the engagement, obsessed with what are they saying about me? He's reading all the papers. He's getting preoccupied by this, and it's putting pressure on himself that wasn't there before when he was just performing, just doing the thing. And the media directly impacts his game. That's the reality. And like, I don't think that they connect that dot quite as much as they think they do,
100%. The insecurities that he gets as it goes on of like, well, why do they like him so much? Why do they like Mickey Mantle so much? Why is everyone rooting for him?
Feel for him. I don't know. Did you feel for him? Because I felt for him in that moment.
Sure.
I felt like he's just misunderstood. He's just like being a dude who loves to play baseball. Just let him fucking play baseball.
Yeah. You 100%, I think, are meant to sympathize or empathize the most with the Maris character, because at the start, he just wants to win games. He doesn't give a shit about records.
Yeah.
He brings Mickey into
And
the
he's a
fold to
team
help
player
him.
too,
Yeah.
which I think is,
Even when he lays down the bunt, they're like, why aren't you swinging for the bat? You're trying to break a home run record. Why are you laying down
we're
a
trying
bunt?
to win the
That
fucking
scene
game
is
is what we're doing.
That scene is important. Yes.
Yeah. And I think it speaks to his character. And that's the thing that I think like we could delve more into of Roger Maris was never on paper when he won that, like we hit this record, the hero to the fans, which is bullshit because his character is really strong versus a Mickey Mantle who I'm not disparaging the guy. But he's a different type, right? Like he's not a heroic guy, quote unquote. He is definitely a womanizer, a drunk. Like if you looked at these things that indict a person's character, man to man, literally, probably Roger Maris is like the better dude, right? He loves his wife,
Yes.
he loves his family, he's committed to his game, he's committed to his team. He just wants to put his head down, do his fucking work, and win his games, right? But Mantle is like about the flash, the pizzazz, the drinks, the experiences, the women, the blah 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 blah. Gives zero shits about his wife, doesn't really care if his kids are around, blah blah blah. And like, does it make him a shitty baseball player? Absolutely not. But the way they idolize Mantle versus Roger Maris because he can't give a fucking interview is such a dichotomy and crazy when you think about heroism in sports. Like he crushed this, but he can't give an interview, so they don't like him. So like the whole time I feel very empathetic and sad for Roger Maris's character for sure.
It's also worth calling out that I feel like this isn't just villainizing sports journalism in general, but also, you know, New York, the Bronx, of when you're on this huge stage, you hear this in places like New York, Boston, LA, like the big stages. You are kind of at the whim of whatever the media is feeling like that day. And if you can't tune it out and still perform, like it will eat away at you. And it's not really fair. There are scenes in here of, you know, they call him at the beginning. They're like, he's boring. Like, we don't want him to break the record because he doesn't have a personality. He doesn't do good interviews. And then at the end of the movie, they're saying he's full of himself. He's egotistical. So it's like, well, you can't have it both ways, media. There's the scene where he had his kid and the reporter is bothering him on the payphone of like, we have a bet going, blah, blah, blah. Like, give us
why do you think this is your fucking business or your moment? Right. You know what I mean? Like, this is not, like, get the fuck away from me right now. And like, I just took myself out of that for a split second as like a famous person and a player and a whatever. If you are interrupting me on the phone at one of the most important moments of my life that is about my family and my child and my whatever, like you're going to get popped in the mouth. Like, what do you, I mean, he is so actually, in my opinion, even tempered in these situations that are incredibly incendiary.
Yeah. It's the norm now of like paparazzi and celebrities don't get left alone. But when he flies from New York back to his home in the middle of nowhere and the press is waiting at his house when he's just going to see his newborn.
I want to see my son. And like, I walk into this room and his wife calls him out, but not in a mean way, but in a like, hey, recenter. Love you. Recenter to what's happening here. Do you want to meet your son? And I, by the way, don't think that's an indictment of Roger Maris's character at all. She's not trying to say like you didn't care about this. This thing that is happening to your family is overwhelming. You just walked into your home surrounded by reporters. You've had threats against your family, so on and so forth. Like this is a scary, preoccupying thing to have this happening on your front lawn and to take away from this really important, beautiful moment. And yeah, I think that there is an indictment of that, but there's not almost enough.
It doesn't go as hard as it could. I will say they do a good job of villainizing New York City children because he gets that one letter with crayon and it says "Die Roger Die." Like New York City children are brutal, dude. They'll give it to you.
Listen, to be fair, they don't fuck around. You know, they're raised on the streets, right? Like they're here for it. But like, okay, but speaking of New Yorkers, right, who are assholes, and I love a New Yorker, by the way, they love me there as well. Artie Green sucks. Yes. Artie Green, the journal, he fucking sucks. And like, if we're talking about the media and like, that's the guy on the phone haranguing him about the weight of the baby, but he throughout asks stupid fucking questions, incendiary questions. He's trying to create a story that isn't necessarily there in certain situations. And he's creating this pendulum shift in a lot of ways of like, we're pro him, we're not. He's been skeptical from day one. And then at the very, end of him not making the record in the regular season, quote unquote regular season, the way they perceive it, he writes this thing of, that's so incendiary of like, yeah, it's not even that interesting to me. Like, of course he didn't make the record. Like, and I love the other journalist. I don't know if you remember his name off the top of your head, but the other journalist who asks him, have you ever played baseball?
That
And
call out is the most comeuppance we get. Yeah.
So good. And I like, it's subtle, but it's so perfect because it's like, did you ever play baseball? Do you even give a shit? Like, are you just here to stir the fucking pot? Because so many sports journalists, to their credit, care about the game.
Yeah.
They are there because they love the game. They care about the game. And that's why, like I was saying in Moneyball, they're emotional fans themselves. They ride the wave of the good and the bad of the teams because they are invested.
Yeah.
This guy doesn't give a shit. He writes for the Daily News and gives a shit about the story.
He would be a TMZ reporter nowadays. Absolutely.
100%. Yes. What a great comparison. This fucker is absolutely a TMZ reporter and we hate him, just for the record.
To flip away really quick, I want to double back a little bit on, we talked about the performances in this. We talked about the difference between Maris and Mantle, and I sort of hinted at Tom Jane does a pretty damn good job in this. Part of that is his performance. Part of that is the script. I'm quoting a motion picture here, but when he delivers the line of they're comparing him to Babe Ruth and like he's a hero and he hit all these home runs and he's like, I bet I get more pussy than he did, that epitomizes Mantle, right? If I don't give a shit about any of this, I'm here for the lifestyle.
It so does. And I wonder too, like, again, and this is not the movie for it, right? But I feel like you could do a really cool biopic about Mantle going into some of that, because I think, early on, like, was he an idealist, right? Was he more of there for the baseball because he's an incredible baseball player and he loves the game? At the end of the day, he is like, hey, if you can't have fun playing baseball, then what are you doing here?
Right.
He says that to Roger Maris later. And I think it's so true, right? Like, you get paid and get to live your life playing a fucking game, and a game that you love.
Yeah,
like,
how
I
lucky
love
are
that.
You? Yeah.
Yeah, and I love that he gets to like make that callback, and I wonder how much of that is early Mantle versus like we're seeing late stage career Mantle who's struggling both physically and otherwise, and how interesting would that deep dive be? That's what I thought was like. I was like, that could be very compelling, because I think he was a romantic baseball player for at least the early parts of his career, very certainly, and then he kind of gets jaded by all this in the media. Like, he even says, he's like, I tried to volunteer to go to war. I got called a draft dodger because I couldn't go. I got rejected because of my knee. I tried to go. They rewrote it a different way, right? Like, how much of that is him just accepting that he doesn't get a say in some of these things and getting a little bitter, but, just trying to enjoy the parts of it that he can.
It's another situation in this film where I think 8 out of 10, they nail that story, but there's a little bit where they could have explored more. Like, they're telling you the story of how
make it a miniseries, like you said.
He's an alcoholic. Really he's making these bad decisions, but even when he's drunk driving and gets in an accident, it's almost played for laughs. Like,
I know, and that's like, that is so frustrating. Like, that is terrible.
When they pull him in to live with them in the apartment, it feels like an intervention, but the movie doesn't portray it as that. It feels more like a feel-good moment, right?
It's certainly an intervention, but they do play it like a feel-good moment. Yeah. I do think it's very wholesome. I do think
for sure. When they're watching the Andy Griffith show and they're whistling and he's just like disgusted.
Totally. And he's so over it. But the reason I think it's quote unquote wholesome beyond that point is, one, he stays, right? Like any other addict or somebody with a problem. And he did certainly have an issue at this point. Don't get me wrong. But I just mean, like, you could absolutely exit stage left on that. Nobody's tying, like, this is not a hospital. Nobody's making you stay, right? And he decides to try.
Yeah.
He stays in a situation that he's like bored out of his mind watching the Andy Griffith show and they're whistling along. And, but he's like, fuck it, I'll give it a try. He tries the eggs. He tries to like live with these dudes.
What do you think is in Roger's famous eggs?
I have so many questions. I'm so glad you brought that up, because they're fucking black. Like, they're black green.
We know there's bacon and bacon grease, but then he throws in the eggs on top of the bacon grease. I'm like, is that it, or is there something else in there that
there has to be something else? There's like a black tinge, greenish tinge. Yeah. The greenish tinge is actually what more concerns me than the black, because like that could be bacon grease. I have no idea what's in that, but apparently it's lucky. And this is one of the many reasons why I love baseball superstitions, because he's like, I ate these disgusting eggs and I started getting runs and I got to keep eating them. And I love that for them. Like, commit to the bit, you know?
Yeah,
but
we
I
talked
like their
about
whole
superstitions
dynamic.
last week, and that played out this week as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I just love their whole, like, we have our various superstitions, we have our routine with each other. I also like that he tries to bring a girl home later, but then he realizes Roger is up and he just sends her away. Like, again, like, you could just say fuck off, I live here, I pay rent, whatever. And he's like, no, I'm not gonna,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna mess with it. So their whole roomy vibe is very wholesome and fun. But I agree. Like, I think you could dig into that whole thing.
To what we said earlier, you have two options here. You can make it a 5-hour miniseries, 6-hour miniseries, and really dig into these things, or just go a little harder on it. Or you can shorten the movie and tighten it up. Because as I was watching some of this, it felt a little rinse and repeat over the course of this 160 game season, where it's just like, okay, now they don't like each other, now they like each other again, now they don't like each other, now they don't like each. It just felt, I was like, I know the arc, we don't need to repeat the arc to get to the satisfying conclusion of the story.
It was, to your point, it was very cyclical. What I will say that I like about the arc is I do think that it does it in a way that's not like your default male emotions.
For sure.
If we're in a fight, we're just angry and we just fight and scream and yell it out, and then we don't talk to each other because emotions constipate us. I like that they gave them more depth, actually. Like, there's an emotional aspect to this. They are crying, they are stressed, he's losing his hair. They have more feelings, like most humans, than just anger. I did like that they did that here. I think they could have done a deeper dive and spent more time on any of those things, but I did like that they gave these men who, especially in these types of stories, can be just relegated to the typical emotions and the machismo of it all, of the anger and the whatever that's easy and low-hanging fruit. They gave them the tears and the stress and the jealousy and the I want it and you want it too, and I'm your friend and I love you, but I also want this for me. And like, it's more complicated than that. I like that they gave a little bit of color to that. I would have liked more, but I think that they gave a little bit of a lens to those different emotions for both of them.
Yeah, despite the repetition that I'm critical of, that really big argument, the blow off they finally have when they let all those emotions out, and it's just like, why you're doing this to yourself? Imagine how much better you would be if you didn't get drunk and the next day you're dehydrated, so you injure yourself. Like that.
Which
argument,
that's a friend that loves somebody, right?
Like hard
I'm
truths.
not just I'm not yelling at you just because I'm mad. I'm yelling at you because I love you. I care about you. I see you every day. I want you to take care of yourself. How many times has he asked him to take care of himself, right? Like, and that is detrimental to his own striving for this record, right? Like, if he takes care of himself, he maybe beats you, because look at the amount of natural talent he has, you know? But I still care so much about you that I want you to do that. I want you to take care of yourself. And I love that they show that Roger Maris moment too, where Mantle's up there right before he hurts himself at that one particular at bat. And he's fucking cheering him on. You know, he's just gotten booed by this crowd and he hit a home run, but he is cheering Mantle on and going like, get it, man. I love that solidarity. And I think that they acknowledge it, but they don't necessarily do enough justice to that camaraderie.
This movie for sure is not, I'm not saying it's an incredible movie, but it's nowhere near as good, if not for the dynamic between these two actors portraying 100%. These two men. Like, that is what makes the film. The rest of the characters are ancillary, and it is an interesting story, but you really need that dynamic. To what you were just touching on of the injury, he gets the standing ovation when he goes out, and then he hits the home run. That one, it doesn't land for me because the music swells. It's the most 2001 thing about this movie, is it's following these beats of 90s and 80s sports films where it's like, oh, I'm hurt, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Here's the music swell, everything is great, and I did it. Yeah, it's a little cheesy, and then he gets hurt, and then it kind of has this playoff, but like, it's just that injured home run. Like, the music doesn't hit for me because it feels a little dated, but if I watched this in 2001, I'd probably love it.
I was going to say, if I watched it in 2001, like really watched it, I think it would be more, that moment would be more impactful.
Mm-hmm.
I also think they call it like a one-armed, one-handed home run. And yes, he's not holding the bat. I'm not saying that he's fully got his full strength in his other hand, but it actually has less of an impact because he is still holding it. So for the shot itself, you kind of can't tell. Like, did he?
Oh, I
Did he?
didn't notice that he was only holding it with one arm. If he was,
Well,
like,
he's not.
okay.
That's what I'm saying. Like, he's holding it very loosely. That's what I'm saying. Like, they're trying to imply he hit that with one arm because he did, right? Like, his strength is all in one arm. The other arm can't really do much, right? But you physically don't see the difference very much. That's what I'm saying. And I think, like, that's what they're. I literally rewound this scene because so many people, as he's running off the field, are like, you did that with one arm. And he's like yelling at Roger Maris, one of the fans, is like, you're nothing without Mantle. You're nothing, like, which is fucking ridiculous. But anyways, that's terrible
Can
shit is
someone
happening.
who knows baseball better than me explain why being the 3 is you get better pitches than the cleanup hitter? I didn't understand that. It's mentioned multiple times in the movie, but I always assumed, like, when I played baseball, the cleanup hitter was the best hitter. Everyone knew that was the case. But so does that mean that they're not throwing fastballs?
I think
to
it's
number
that
4? Like,
this is maybe we need to ask Skylar the pitcher specifically for some context, but I think it's that you are getting better pitches, like just better pitches. Like the more pitches you do as a pitcher, the worse your pitch, like just literally number of pitches, your pitching
so it's like more
deteriorates.
predictable if you're the 3 hitter.
Well, you could be trying for a fastball, but you do a shitty job. You could be trying for a curveball, you do a shitty job because you're weakening your arm strength, your pitching is getting worse, etc. So even if you're reading the pitch correctly as a hitter, you maybe can't actually hit it because it doesn't execute the same way, right?
Yeah.
And I would be curious if, like, a pitcher, for example, assesses that the same way. But I just mean, like, I think it's that the quality of the pitches early in the pitch, like, you haven't pulled your pitcher yet. This is early pitches. They're probably better, more accurate. That person's trying for a curveball, it's going to be a curveball. That person's trying for a fastball, it's going to be a fastball. It's easier to read, and you can more accurately hit the pitch as a hitter than a later cleanup hitter who's like, it's fucking flailing. It's going everywhere. I don't know what it's going to be. Exact. And so that they were arguing that Mantle had a harder gig going behind Maris than being in front of him.
Yeah, I kind of tracked that. I was like, okay, that is kind of interesting that he has this resentment of, like, because we changed the batting order, now you're getting more.
But Mantle doesn't. That's what I love about that. Mantle's like, whatever, I'll hit whatever.
Yeah.
They're, again, stirring the pot,
right.
trying to make it a thing.
Before we get to kind of the conclusion, which I have a couple notes on, but, like, I wanted to call out one of the most interesting things to me watching this, and potentially the thing that's either aged the best or is the most ironic about this, is the asterisk in the title, because we're focusing on 61 and the record isn't the record because, at least until whatever they said, 95, 93.
I was going to say, do we want to spend the rest of the time having a philosophical debate about the asterisk? Because we could.
Well, but the thing about the asterisk, right, is what I kind of called out earlier, is that we start this movie with Mark McGwire breaking that record.
For fucking real, though,
and
where the actual asterisk should be.
That's where the asterisk is now, and you have Mark McGwire, you have Sammy Sosa, you have Barry Bonds, all PED, suspended, have the number, like, 1 through 6 here, and I think the only exception at these days is Aaron Judge on the Yankees currently, who has never been popped for PEDs. He's the only one above Babe Ruth and Roger Maris at this point who was never, suspended for those drugs.
To date.
Date. So I know you're a Red Sox fan, so you probably think he's all hopped up.
No, listen, I can recognize talent where I see it, right? Yeah. Like, I'm not a fan because he's not playing for the Red Sox, but, like, incredible talent. No drugs would be surprising to me. And not just him, by the way. I would include some Red Sox players in this over the years, right? Like, they're the
name them right now as you're wearing the Red Sox.
Absolutely not. I am not a fucking traitor. No. The prevalence of drugs in the game, and games plural of various sports, is so strong now. It's so, and I get the challenge of that, right? Like, if somebody else is doping and you're a really good player, but they're doping and they're outperforming you, like, it's a very slippery slope of, what is apples to apples, right? Like, what is a real competitive play if they are doping and I am not, even though I'm really talented and I but I can't stop them from doping, like so on and so forth. Like it's very the Lance Armstrong of it all.
Yep.
Of, hey, I had to because all my peers were, and I was still the best cyclist, but I had to. I really struggle with that, but I understand the argument to a degree. McGuire is one of the prime examples for me. I literally have it as like he broke this record in theory in 98. He actually went so far as to get 70 runs.
Mm-hmm.
And but he doped, and he didn't admit it at the time. He admitted it later, and he asserted that he would have still broken the record without it. There's no fucking way to know. Like that is not the scientific method. You cannot convince me of that, right?
So and then Barry Bonds breaks it later, and again, suspended for doping, and it's just to the point that when this was my first time watching this, when I started the film, I was like, oh, the Mark McGuire opening, that's why there's an asterisk in the title of the movie. I thought, but then I remembered this was made in 2001 and he hadn't been suspended yet. So the asterisk is
he wasn't ever suspended. That's the thing. He had no real accountability.
After the fact. Yeah,
no, he had to go to a congressional hearing where he refused to answer questions about doping, so he couldn't actually be held in contempt or for perjury, and he wouldn't answer it. But he was interviewed later and he admitted it. And so I guarantee you that's the only reason he's not in the Hall of Fame yet. Is he admitted it later. And if he had never admitted it, then he would have. But Sammy Sosa was the same shit. And when the Sammy Sosa McGuire thing was happening in real time, I was a Sammy Sosa kid, right? And so I was like, fuck McGuire, let's go for Sosa. But they were both doping, it turns out.
Yep.
You know, so it's like there's no purity here anymore.
No, it's them
there
and
should
Bonds.
Be an asterisk to all of this, is what I'm saying.
The bookending of the story, I feel like that hasn't aged well. It's not the fault of the movie, but it's just you're telling the story in the context of this is when Mark McGuire, like 2 years after he breaks this record. Then it turns out, well, he has his own asterisk because the entire first asterisk is because of the length of the season. And I do like to get kind of to the end of this, that we have that down moment where he could potentially break Babe's record legit during that Baltimore game in the same number of games. And you have the commissioner, who it turns out every sport hates their commissioner since the beginning of time. Love how he gets booed, just like everybody these days. You have the wife of Babe Ruth being super negative about it, of like, don't break my husband's record.
Well, I love that she accurately represents him, I will say. She's like, he fucking loved this record. Like, let's just be real.
Yeah.
It's kind of rough the way she delivers it, certainly. But you're like, all right. I mean, at least she's honest.
Like, he wouldn't have wanted him to break this record.
He would not have wanted this. He wanted to hold this record.
Take this with a grain of salt, but I did read something where Babe Ruth was actually in an interview saying his best record was something about pitching 28 innings scoreless in the World Series. Like, that's pretty fucking impressive. You pitched like almost 3 full games of scoreless innings. So he said that was his favorite record. Not to say he didn't value the home run record, but
that's what I mean. Like, that is a totally different accomplishment, and it's really that's wildly impactful. But the home runs are what are sexy, right? Like, that's the thing. That's why people lean into those. But I get you.
Yeah,
that's why we have a home run derby, right? We don't have a pitching derby, is what I'm saying. Like,
maybe we should have a pitching derby.
Maybe we should have a pitching. I love pitching. I think it's fascinating to watch. But yes, it's not as sexy as home runs.
So as we're getting to sort of the conclusion of this, we don't end on, it feels a little anticlimactic because it's honestly similar to Moneyball last week. It's almost flip-flopped, but we get this negative of like, there's this, is it a nor'easter that's in town in Baltimore? Some kind of weather that really prevents him from breaking the record in the same number of games.
The fucking wind.
So it almost,
or the ghost of Babe, as they like to say. Yeah,
I like that, of like they bring up
the
way
like
that it would be presented.
Again, I love a baseball superstition. Like, Babe doesn't want you to have it, you know.
And we eventually do get him breaking the record. It's not, as glorious
in the
as
same
we would
number of
think.
games.
Yeah. But the crowd is behind him, and I think that moment does land when he gets the standing ovation. Yes.
But the thing that upsets me about that, for a number of reasons, you're like, they're still in it. I don't know why you're not there. There's 23,000 fans there. The fuck? Like, it's a practically empty stadium. Meanwhile, mid-season, Mickey Mantle has fucking people all the way up to the roof cheering for him for one at bat. And this one is like minimal crowd.
I didn't realize that. Okay.
Yeah, it was like 23,000 fans. There's nobody fucking there. Half the stadium's empty. But again, if you look at the shot for Mantle earlier, again, mid-season, it's packed. And also, they are going for the pennant at this point. So it should, in theory, be packed. Like, what are we saying, that this fucking stadium is empty?
I think it tells you that the fans are fickle.
A little bit. Fickle fandom, for real. But I love that you connect to his wife. She's there for this moment, and she's cheering him on. And he has this big moment, and he gets it. And you can tell he's so relieved. Like, he's been so abused all season. And to your point, like, he gets this moment where they cheer him on, and he loves that his teammates won't let him back in the dugout. He even says
they have to, and I like that they make you wait on that, where he's sitting on the bench and they're like, get out there, get out. It's a curtain call, which now in New York is a well-known thing, but back then probably wasn't, and they force him to go back out, and they're like, no, stay out there, enjoy
and I love that his teammates always stayed behind him, even if they would vacillate between like Mantle and Maris, and like wanting them to both do well. They loved and respected him. They understood why he was. Again, this is a guy who just loved baseball, want to play baseball. Like just stop fucking judging him off his interview skills, right? He just wants to play a game. He's a simple guy, and he's really good at what he does, and they all respect him and cheer him on. And I love that he at least has that, and then it does translate into this big moment for him at the end. He finally kind of gets that, and then you get that moment with him and Mickey, like celebrating that together. And I love how it kicks off with Mickey being like, fuck you. Like it's this chill, like, okay, well, fine, fuck you very much. Also, he really was sidelined by this thing. That's a real thing. That doctor that gave him that shot, Max Jacobson, is a notorious doctor who famously treated tons of famous people like JFK, Judy Garland, like Lauren
people
Bacall,
who are dead, for the record. So he was a pretty shitty fucking doctor.
Well, he did. He lost his license. He did because his fucking shots were filled with like amphetamines, animal hormones, placenta, enzymes, like some multivitamins, sure, but like a lot of painkillers and steroids. It was like a crazy cocktail, and he would just shoot them in people's bodies. So yeah, like that wound that Mantle gets like turns septic. So he was truly like hospitalized to not die.
That was the end of his career? Do you know off the top of your head?
He played, I think, one more season. I could be wrong, but it does sideline him in the series. That is accurate. He doesn't get to play the series because of that. It was really rough. Yeah.
And then
but I like that he comes and sees him.
Yeah, we get the conclusion. We tie back to sort of the beginning of Mark McGwire and his quote about the baseball bat, and we wrap it up. And again, that doesn't hit as strong on a first time watch in 2025 when you know how that plays out, of like, oh, this was meaningless, like in the grand scheme of things. But I mean, they do a good job of addressing the Roger Maris of it all. It's really his story at the end of the day. And no, he wasn't the most glamorous player of all time, but he did this thing in one. All it takes is one special season. So I think it's a good, you don't have to be a New York Yankees fan to watch this. You definitely have to be a baseball fan, I think, to enjoy it. But 100%. It does call back to, like, it tells an important story that I think was necessary to be told, of this player that isn't in the Hall of Fame, but like, this is a cool story that did take place one season.
And I think he's he's presented as being such a good teammate. For sure. I think that gets undersold in this day and age. We have a lot of stars, right? Especially in the Yankees, right? We got the Derek Jeters and the Judges of the world and so on and so forth, who are just like the stars of the team.
Right.
And it takes away from, like, this is a team sport. To your earlier point about home runs, like the home run record and a home run, in a game is the sexy, fun part. But pitching and not allowing a run is an incredible skill. And like that takes you have offense and defense just like any other sport. Yep. Right. And like the defense gets really underrated in baseball, and it's so critical. So I like that he is presented as really being a part of the team, not going for the glory, wanting to just make sure that the team gets the win and the pennant and all the things, and the records are secondary. And I think that's kind of like what it should be about. And even though the McGwire thing like kind of closes us out and it's a little bit asterisk-y in its own right, I love that he does also have this reverence for Roger Maris and the record that he gave, and and the work that he did. And I think that's fair. I think he deserves this. I think it could have been executed a little better, but I think he deserves
it. If you take the steroid piece out of it, it makes for a good bookend to the story. They made this in 2001. It was very deliberate of what they were trying. They were telling a story of like, hey, you remember that record that McGuire broke? Here's how that happened.
Here's the record. Here's how
I
that
had
happened.
no idea. Like I said, I thought the asterisk in the title was in regards to McGuire. I had no idea that the baseball season got longer the season that Maris broke it. So that I like that they tell that story.
Which we could get into the weeds on, because I think Maris, while misinterpreted yet again by the news, I think it makes a good point of like the seasons are fundamentally a little different.
Yes.
Right. Like the drain on the teams and the way they're structured and the way they travel and playing at night. Like they even mentioned that in Field of Dreams that we talked about, of like playing at night is actually harder, you know? So what about that impacts the players and their performance over the course of a season? And does 8 seasons, like, is it a wash in terms of the number
and
of
the
games
way
that
people play now? Like in modern sports, it's just there's a lot more intentional walks now. You know, a guy tends to hit home runs, you just pitch around him. That didn't used to happen as much. It still did happen, as evidenced by this movie, but
you also just have more games. Like, let's be honest, like more games, more stamina, more work. Like it takes it out of you. So is it
like
harder?
The new thing now is like starting pitchers only go like 5-6 innings, and then more people come. So it's like you're constantly facing fresh pitchers. The game is constantly evolving. Crazy. It's not really fair to, you know, compare one to the other.
It isn't. And I think like season over season is like, that's the record. I'm kind of in that camp, I guess, is what I would.
I'm glad we're having so many like baseball conversations throughout this movie month of baseball. It's cool to get into the weeds a little bit, but
I love baseball. Yeah. And I just, I'm so excited for more. Okay. But anyway, all that to say, this is a good movie. It's a fun time. I think you should absolutely watch it if you are a baseball fan. You don't have to be a Yankees fan, but you do have to be, I think, a baseball fan, to your point, to watch it. But I think it's worth a watch. I don't think expect a Moneyball out of it. You know what I mean? Right. Or a, you know, whatever. But it's worth a watch for sure. So with that, what's your rating?
It's one of the best made for TV / HBO movies I've ever seen. It's not perfect. It drags a little bit. Would have been better as a miniseries. Some of the scenes are very unnecessary. It doesn't go as hard on some of the themes as it could. Super random fact that I couldn't work in anywhere else. But I don't know when the next time we'll talk about Tom Jane is. But I was always curious about his name. I was like, Thomas Jane, like he has a man's name, a woman's name. So he elected to take his mother's maiden name, which was Jane, just because he thought it would be cool to have a woman's first name as his last name. So if you ever wondered where Tom Jane got his name,
feminism.
There you go. Yeah, he's a feminist. Good for him.
He's a feminist.
I would rate this at about a 7. I think it's good. It's not great. It's very watchable, especially if you love baseball or the New York Yankees. It's good for historical context, but don't go in expecting a life-changing film. But yeah, I'd say a 7.
You're nicer than me, actually, and I'm the baseball fan. So I gave it a 6.5.
Okay.
But it was, you know, I don't like the Yankees. What do you want from me? I'm not a
how many of those points are Yankees driven?
I've deducted it significantly because this is too much about the Yankees. You know what I'm saying? No, I do think pacing's a problem. I actually hadn't thought about the miniseries thing until you brought it up, but I do think that could do it better justice. I think we could dig into each of these people a little bit more and I would have more buy-in. But I think Roger Maris was a good dude and a good baseball player, and it was a fun watch.
It is. So. It's to my knowledge, it's the only movie that's been made about this story. So again,
I think so.
If not for it being a story that needed to be told, it would probably score lower in my book. But because I didn't know all this, it was new to me, and I found that intriguing. I never want to watch it again, but it was a cool first time watch.
I think I do think that it has like the romance, like some of what we were talking about in Moneyball. I do think it has these key like romantic baseball moments, these beautiful baseball moments that really, like, if you're a baseball fan, like we said, like give you the chills, make you happy, get you excited. And if you love those things about baseball, then you're going to love that part of the movie for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, fam. This was a fun one. Come back next week for our next entry where we will have a special guest star. Actually, we're going to be talking about Major League. We're going to change the vibes here for a hot minute. It is hard, by the way, to find a really romantic, sentimental baseball movie, for the record. So this is the one maybe to do it.
Watch this movie in 2-3 decades, and I'm very curious how it's aged. Yeah,
same. We have, for the record, we have talked about doing Bull Durham, for example, for baseball. I went back and watched it. I don't remember what it was. You and I talked about this. It was months ago. I went back and watched it, and I was like, I don't think we can comfortably do this movie. Like, it doesn't age well. So curious as well to see how this goes. Anyway, in the meantime,
follow us on our socials. We drink and we watch things. We're most present on Instagram. We run polls. You can message us, all that good stuff.
Speaking of, what won? What won for our last?
Honestly, it turns out you guys really hate Chadwick Boseman because Angels in the Outfield won like 85% to 15. So that's on you guys.
Wait, is there a tiebreaker? Can I go tiebreak it? I don't know.
It was 85% to 15. I don't know if you're a majority stakeholder in the poll, but
hi. Yes. No, I'm just kidding.
But yes,
we'll do what y'all want. But wow,
so we'll be doing Angels in the Outfield in a couple of weeks. I'm really excited to talk about God in baseball. You know,
I'm hearing about this live for the first time, you guys, like right now. So I guess we're doing God in baseball.
But you can see the video of this podcast on Spotify video, also on YouTube, if that's where you go for your podcasts and to see us live and in person. You can email us anytime. We drink and we watch things pod@gmail.com. Give us any thoughts, any suggestions. We haven't picked an August theme yet, so if you guys have some August theme ideas, I know racing's in the mix.
I'm lobbying for racing, actually. We need to do F1 and a bunch of others.
So that's up there as a contender. But yeah, we'll see you there on our socials.
All right. Well, despite your poor voting skills, I wish you all well. Go have a drink and watch a thing. Cheers.
Cheers.